What's up, guys? Frugal BC today talking about Silvio Micali, the founder of Algorand, talking at Paris blockchain event. We're gonna watch this video. I have not watched it, so we're gonna react live because I haven't seen this thing at all. Before we do that, guys, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like and subscribe button, remember you don't have to smash it; you can just press it gently. And I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Non-Fungible Domains. If you want that .algo address after your name, Non-Fungible Domains is the way to use it. Makes it a lot easier to remember your address. Link in the description below. And we're brought to you by Fractal Monsters, a play-to-earn game on the Algorand blockchain. You can get your free monster today just by checking out the link in the description code. Go check both of those out. And now to the show. Paris Blockchain Week this week, big event, and a lot of people there. Seen some cartoons, some AI generated images of Micali and also Lehman Baird kind of doing the same little dance where they walk out to the stage, and it looks really cool, but obviously not real. What is real though, Silvio Micali giving this performance. We're going to react to it live. Like I said, have not seen it, didn't even watch it yet, so I just want to watch it. We're going to watch it together basically, and I'll react to it. Let's see. But I will say, as someone who saw him speak at the Cypher, it's very impressive. He's a very smart guy. Just you really got the sense that you were standing in front of someone who's a genius, and he is a Turing Award winner, so that's a pretty big deal. But yeah, why don't we check this out here? All right, so here's the appearance. Like I said, I have not watched it, so let's just see what happens.
Have been building what he'll be speaking about now in his keynote. Everybody, please welcome Silvio Micali.
Here it comes.
All right, everybody, welcome to Blockchain Week for day number 2. So, government-grade blockchain.
You know, one of the things, there's a lot of criticism of Micali that he's not more out front, that he's not, you see Charles Hoskinson talking about Algorand, you see Lehman Baird talking about Hedera, but then with Micali, you have him show up to things like this, but you don't really see him in the scene much besides this. But that's okay. I don't know that that's always necessary, and I think John Woods has sort of weirdly kind of filled that role, I think, of kind of the, because like Hoskinson is a very technical guy, but he's also the founder. So is Lehman Baird, and John Allen Woods is very technical as well. So kind of good company there. It kind of makes sense. And, I think Silvio, he's an academic at heart, but also like you got a sense of his real mission at Decipher. But yeah, let's have a listen.
So here is the agenda, what I plan to do. I'd like to explain what do I mean by government-grade blockchain, and then I'd like to say why I think it is important to share with you this, and then also to share particularly my experience when I talk about public officials, about what do they really want.
Sorry, I was kind of hoping I had subtitles because I'm having a little hard time understanding it.
Strange angles they want from our technology. All right. Now, let's agree that blockchain is an amazing technology, right? And as enjoying amazing adoption.
Based.
From early adopters to big finance now, they are coming on the blockchain. But perhaps it's fair to say that governments are not quite there yet the way we would. So it is.
Yeah, totally fair point, by the way. Especially in Algorand, no offense, but I've been really unhappy with Algorand governance and how it works. So I'm very curious what he's going to say about this. Now, one thing I want to talk about is that, and I know this, a lot of people disagree with me on this. Like, I know that, but I actually think there's some kind of balance between centralized and decentralized. Because let's be honest, this guy's like a million times smarter than me, right? So why would I? And he's probably a million times smarter than most of us watching this. Let's be honest, this guy's a genius. We're not. And while I think it's good to have input. I think the crowd can be a good source for certain things. I think when it comes to the technical details, like I think a lot of us, I think most people, what you find if, you know, because I cover local government too, and what you find is that most people aren't going to take the time to fully understand an issue to make an informed decision on it. And that's usually why you elect representatives, you know? So, yeah, I'll be, well, let's just see what he has to say.
It's a fair question. Why? So, we can be dismissed, right? Governments, we are always late, we are too cautious, etc., etc., etc. But, could it be, might be, may perhaps be the case that blockchain is not quite government grade yet. Okay, here is going to be our hero today, is Mr. Magellan. Remember, that's the guy who first to circumnavigate the globe.
Sorry to interrupt again. I think I screwed that up. He said government grade, not governance. This is why, yeah, it'd be nice if hopefully they show this more because I didn't understand.
Started from Spain, they went down South America through the Magellan Strait. He discovered the new ocean, which he called Pacific. Some of his crew felt that in 3 days it would be in China. Well, they were wrong. Why? Because they didn't have any maps. He was going really towards the unknown with no maps at all. And so he set sail in September 1519 with 5 ships and 270 crew. Well, it took 3 years to come back home. Only 1 ship made it, and only 19 of the crew survived. 7% rate of survival. Magellan himself did not survive. Yet we think a little bit, you know, some sympathy, we cannot but see some sympathy from the guy. Why? Because we are blockchainers. So we love explorations as much as he did. We like adventure, and we are not afraid to see risk in the eye. However, and that is the fact, not everybody is like us, right? And somehow, and for good reasons too, we are also now of France. France has been a nation for many centuries and plans to be a nation for many more centuries. And if you accept 7% survival on anything you do, you don't last a few centuries, okay? So sometimes governments won't, and necessarily do, slow down things a little bit. So governments, however, it is important to realize.
This is super interesting. One of the big criticisms of Algorand is that people are really concerned about a CBDC. So this is the fact that this is what they're focusing on, I think is going to make a lot of people alarmed about that. Right. You know, not that like, I guess I'd rather see Algorand focused on business than government, because I have concerns about the government controlling crypto. I like it basically staying out of the hands of government so that's like the decentralized part for me. Like, I don't care about voting on what happens on the chain, because like I don't know like a thousandth of what, like, say, John Allen Woods knows, right? So why am I voting? Why would I be voting on? But this stuff, like keeping it out of the hands of like government, which is really, I mean, really controlled by corporate interests right now. Let's be honest. I know I'm getting a little political, but whether you're left or right, I think it doesn't really matter, because the corporate interests and the lobbyists control most of what happens. So I don't know. This is not the talk I would have hoped for, I guess. But
they have legitimate objectives. What is more important to realize that what their objectives, they're actually achievable today. And we actually very often ignore them, even though we have the technology to address them successfully. I'd like here to share with you just a few examples. An example number one is that of a quintessential phenomenon on a soft fork, right? On a sudden the chain splits temporarily. But what happens during such a split? Well, there is a temporary ambiguity. So some
Algorand doesn't fork, by the way, which is cool. I wonder why he's bringing up the fork thing.
Digital asset may belong to you in some branch and to you in another branch. So what? Who cares, says Magellan, the guy who accepts 7% probability of survival. Sure, from his perspective, waiting a few minutes to see that who is really the real owner of a digital asset doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to Mr. Magellan, but the governments care. Because governments, to keep nations united, they needed to have a certain glue, certain fundamental pillars. And one of these pillars, a legal pillar, is certainty of the law. That is a legal pillar in any government. And another pillar in finance is certainty of ownership. You cannot run a financial world in which for a moment is even clear, is my asset becomes yours or yours becomes mine. This confusion is not as welcome. So, and what is the notion? Forkless chains. By the way, forkless chains, how do you get that? You abandon the traditional consensus elongated the longest chain, or at one branch of random if there are two equally long, and you do actually Byzantine agreement on every block you produce. Footnote, and by the way, some chains succeed in doing best at scale. So, here is how it goes. Assume that you are in one of these chains. You have blocks of B1, B2, BK. Somebody, maybe you, propose another block. It's not appended yet. We have to reach a Byzantine agreement on it. Once it's done, we can propose another block, reach a Byzantine agreement on it, and so on and so forth. This way, there is no split. There is not even temporary ambiguity.
And I know what you're all waiting for, but I think I heard that he actually never mentions Algorand specifically. I could be wrong, but this really seems like he's setting up to say, and by the way, I know one chain that does that. It's Algorand.
And one good thing which you have better than the great explorers of the 1500s is that we have GitHubs and we share our technology with everybody else. You know what, in this circumnavigation, when these ships come back full of knowledge, full of charts, the most dangerous part was coming back home. Because if you were at the last hundreds of miles Portuguese, you were assaulted by the Spaniards. If you were Spaniard, you were assaulted by Portuguese. Everybody wanted your knowledge. But with blockchainers, we passed that. We donate our technology, everybody's welcome to use it. Therefore, why don't we do just that? And get the forkless chains for everybody. And that's what, in my opinion, is what the government wants. Another one, government cares about fairness. Consider the quintessential program on asset swap, which is the bread and butter.
Do they though? Do they care about fairness? I mean, they might say I know what he means. I know what he means, but I don't know that that's always true. I think depends what you mean by government. I guess we can get into a whole philosophical debate. So maybe I'll just let that go for now. But I don't know. I hear stuff like that and I think, well, okay, I'll shut up.
Barter or trade. You have an asset that I want, and I have an asset, maybe money, that you want, and we want to swap. How do we do it? There is a public official, a notary public, somebody with power, which convenes the two parts. And nobody leaves the room unless the transaction is complete, and it's not going to be an hanged transaction. Either we complete together or we don't complete. Well, how do we do it? Hash time locks? Well, they're a very bad approximation of whatever happens with a trusted official in the middle helping us, right?
By the way, like this is almost like this is kind of like for the people and also maybe a little Orwellian. Maybe not Orwellian. A little bit surveillance-y, but what about, so blockchains are all about transparency, like everything's written on the chain. What if in a future, to prevent government corruption, all transactions that a public official undertakes have to be done on chain? So you basically, like, this is your wallet. Okay, you're elected. I don't know. You're elected mayor of Chicago. Cool. Here's your wallet. All your pay is going to come through here, and everything has to be accounted for that you own. So if we see a Tesla in your driveway and I don't see a receipt here on the blockchain, you know, we know you're in trouble because you violated the Sunshine blockchain law or something. That would be a really interesting, but also it's like it's a little scary because I could see that like not being used on the populace and not public leaders, because public leaders are supposed to exist in a fishbowl, right? I know I'm really pontificating, but he brought up government, and I've covered government for a long time, so I have a lot of thoughts on it. And okay, I'll let him talk.
Because I can give you my house, but I have 5 minutes. If you give me the money, now the transaction is complete. But if you don't give me the money, I can post in the blockchain another transaction in which I retract my asset. What is the problem? If I give you my house, now at 5 minutes, tick-tock, 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 and you give me the money, and somehow I am the object of a denial, massive denial of service attack. My communication channel is clogged. I cannot hear anything, and I cannot post a message. After 5 minutes of clocking and ticking, the house is now yours, and I cannot hold it back. Okay. Well, why don't we do it? We put an escrow contract, and I give my house in escrow, and I own my house. You give me money, and the escrow contract knows very well that once both are there, then he's going to distribute to both of us. But the question is, who wants to go first? How about you put the money first in the smart contract, if the chain for whatever reason halts, stops, coughs up, what is going to happen after? Who wants to go first is a very big call. So the party who goes first has a small strategic disadvantage. Who cares? Of course, if you're willing to gamble your life with those odds, you know, going first in a transaction, it's nonsense. But governments do. Fairness is very important. And so, can you imagine that a government, any government, says, you know, welcome to the national asset swapping platform. By the way, I want you, citizens, to be aware that the first to go is a disadvantage. You got it, right? Enjoy the platform. Sign your caring government. No, that's not the way it works. Fairness to the hill is important. That's why we have these complex, orchestrated, in-person meetings. Nonetheless, we can have the same block smart contracts. What does that mean? What the word says? It is not that I go first and put some transaction on a block, and then you go second and you post the transaction after me, etc., etc. But that means that my transaction, by which I give the house, your transaction, which you give the house, file together and must be together in the same block for the block to be valid. Because if only my house, and I mentioned that you have to give the money is on the block, is an invalid block.
So maybe I'm being a little unfair because he said government grade, but that didn't necessarily mean that there's a government focus. Like government grade would like indicate a certain standard of quality and a certain set of expectations that would also be good for business or for, you know, whatever else. So he's kind of just describing the various ways that blockchain can be. He says fair. I don't think fair is the right word, but I'm trying to think what the right word is. I almost want to say equitable, not with the like cultural baggage, but just equitable as in you're each going, there's a word. Okay, I'm not going to think of it, but there's definitely a word for this that is what he means. I just cannot think of it right now. But equitable is a close one, I think. You know, we're really talking about like an equitable experience.
And vice versa for you. So these are a better approximation of fairness. And guess what? They are again achievable in some chains. Your guess is as good as mine. And you can download it and implement it too. Everybody, I think that wants to address governmental problem, fairness is going to be a major concern. And I'd like to mention a third one, because I have another 9 minutes, and it's quantum resilient chains.
Quantum resilient chains. Which one would that be? Again, still has not said Algorand, but he's like clearly pointing at, because I think Algorand is, I don't know if it's the only quantum proof chain or one that's like on its way to being quantum proof, but it's pretty close if it's not the only one.
So what is the problem? The problem is that quantum computers may, at some point in the future, scale. Right now, I can factor 15, 3 times 5 by quantum computer, but they are not there yet. So what does that mean? That I have to get it wet before it rains? That I should take my key and get a much more cumbersome, longer key that is quantum resilient to sign transaction? No. Maybe I have time to do it. When a quantum computer can factor numbers, say 10 digits, I started paying attention. 20 digits, I started getting worried. 50 digits, and then I switched. But right now, why should I switch against to be protected by quantum computers at scale that are not quite there yet? But what is the problem? Our chain will be around in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever it takes the quantum computer to scale. And those transactions have to be secure. Assume that you bought the Colosseum from me a year ago, or right now, at a very good price. And you love it so much, you don't trade it, you don't sell it. When quantum computer comes, then you may no longer be the owner of the Colosseum. That you don't know. So it's not the problem to secure the digital signature by which in this minute, unless in this minute there are quantum computer we are okay, but to secure the ownership of the assets when the chain is going to be around to be attacked by the future quantum computers. So what we want really is our goal is to secure now the chain, because the chain lasts more than us, like it lasts you want forever, 100 years, 200 years, etc., against the future attack. That is actually our goal. And by the way, it is also achievable. Stay tuned.
So yeah, here's a take that I have that I think kind of sets me apart from like the algo maxis and the algo haters. Like I don't think Algorand. I tend to think that it just doesn't pump very well price wise. I've talked about this numerous times. Like there's a good chance it might not even stay in the top 100 for a while. It might pop out of the top 100 for a while, but I think it's going to be a long around time because they're doing all this stuff that matters. What I think is going to happen is like stuff like Sol, stuff like Ethereum. Ethereum's probably just going to be around just because staying power. But a lot of these other like S coins, and I'm not going to say the actual word because I don't want to get demonetized. A lot of these S coins, like they're pumping now. You might get big gains out of them, but I think they're just going to fall by the wayside. I don't think they have the staying power. And like I think Algorand has the staying power as long as they can. They just got to figure out the economics of it, because like right now, if you're bringing in $2 million a year in fees and you're spending way more than that for your burn rate per year, many multiples of that, like you're not going to last very long. So that's a problem. But as long as they can get that under control, I think they're building the technology to be around for a long time. So they probably will be around when those quantum computers. It just might be a long time before they see real, like, say, adoption.
So once more, I think why not really improve these chains and making them really government grade? So by the way, I have no time for an example 4 and example 5. We have to worry about AI and blockchain and thing. But let me say a prediction which I stand by. The government grade blockchain requirements will grow with time. Like in Italy, there is a saying that say, appetite grows while eating. So you give me fairness, oh great, how about fortune? Oh, that's good too, but I want more and I want more. That's a human nature, right? So this will happen. But and they challenge us to develop more demanded blockchain. So let's embrace the challenge rather than pushing back on it. So, and I'd like to mention the famous reason that Enzo Ferrari, he was a man of the past. He built with passion internal combustion engines. But he was also a man of the future. Right now, you build maybe electric cars. And maybe you build personal flying saucers later. But the principle stands well. He said, build race cars to build better cars. Why do we toil to push the edge of the envelope? Why do we insist on doing what is hard? Because we want to do better what is easy. By doing government-grade chain, we are going to make any chain better. And we should. And I'd like to leave you with this image. That is a bridge, a Roman bridge in southern France, Le Pont du Gard. And this is quintessential governmental infrastructure. This bridge has been working for over 2 millennia. And until 2005, trucks and cars were allowed to cross it, so robust it was. Well, I believe that the government-grade blockchain is going to be as useful, as powerful, and as beautiful as any other piece of physical or digital infrastructure we shall ever build. Thank you.
I want to backtrack to something I saw on here. In fact, let me see if I can. It says governments are very rational, very rational actors. Why did he put that? Why did he put that phrase on there? Because I got to tell you, I don't think that's true. And I don't think, by the way, I don't think people are rational actors either. In fact, that was one of the big mistakes of economics, of early economics before behavioral economics and before Daniel Kahneman came along, who just passed away recently. He wrote Thinking Fast and Slow, which is an amazing book, excellent book. In fact, I'm probably have to reread that sometime soon. But his argument is that people, the problem is like everything's designed with people being rational actors, but they're not rational actors. They act against their own interest often. And I don't see how governments are any different. I mean, all you have to do is look at the war in Gaza with Israel and Palestine, and I think everyone can see like non-rational things being done, probably on both sides. I'm not going to get into that conflict here, but because there's, I've actually done a deep dive on this. I've been watching so much content and reading so much about it, and I'm not going to bring it up on this stream. Or on this show. There's way too much, but I think I'm a little concerned about that being. Is he saying that's his take, as in Silvio's, or was he quoting Enzo there? I don't think he was quoting Enzo, but I think that was just the last part. I don't think governments are rational actors. I think that's maybe a flawed bit of thinking. I wonder if that reveals some like flaws in Silvio's thinking here, or just in the Algorand's viewpoint. Because like also people aren't rational actors. This has been my whole point. The whole crypto industry is irrational, right? There's no reason like Solana, people should keep using Solana when it's continually not working, when Algorand works. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And if Algorand wasn't working, I'd be saying the same. I got into a Twitter fight yesterday because someone was saying, oh, well, stop bashing. Basically, they were saying stop bashing Solana because that's not going to increase Algorand adoption. Like, that's not my point. My point is like to talk about this stuff as I see it. Okay. I'm not here to I don't work for Algorand. I'm not here to boost adoption. And frankly, I don't think a YouTuber is going to boost adoption for a technology. Like, people are going to go, oh, that Frugal BC guy said Algorand's great, so I'm going to go do a bunch of stuff on it. But they might go check it out. Maybe. I mean, I might bring more people in, but like real adoption is going to happen when you offer a use case that people need. An end of story. And it doesn't matter who it is. Which is the reason why I think Algorand's going to be around a while, because I think it does have real things for people to use. I was talking about Lofty earlier this morning on Twitter. And I have some problems with it, but it's actually being used for like a real world asset, which, so yeah, that's my thoughts. Not a bad talk. He did indeed. What I heard was correct. He did not actually mention Algorand once. I think he implied it multiple times. But if you're not familiar with Algorand, you wouldn't necessarily know. Oh, that sounds like Algorand. That sounds like Algorand. So you wouldn't know that. So yeah, I don't think it was a bad speech. I know a lot of people have been trying to get an interview with Silvio Micali. I don't think you guys can. I don't think you guys can handle it. I actually would not want that interview. Kind of like trying to talk to Bobby Fischer about chess or something. Like, it's like, what am I going to say to him? He knows way more about this stuff. He's his little finger knows more about this stuff than I do. What am I going to? I mean, sure, I could figure out things to ask him about, but I'd feel like it'd be really hard to talk. You're not going to be on that guy's level, you know. But I guess I talked to John Allen Woods, and I'm not on his level either. But you know, I could stick to stuff that I know. But he's really on the tech side, so yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I mean, listen, if the opportunity came up, I'd take the challenge and I'd figure it out. But I see a lot of these guys like trying to like they really want an interview with him. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure you're ready for that? I don't think you are. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I thought that was really interesting. Just kind of a cool thing to look at. And yeah, good for Silvio. It's nice to hear him speaking. I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed that. So it's kind of a long video. Hope you stuck with it. If you did, you gotta hit the like button, dude. If you stick around this long, you for sure gotta hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, like, I don't even know what you're doing. You know, like I said, you don't have to smash it. Just press it gently. It's fine. Works just fine that way too. And anyway, thanks, guys. Hope you're doing well out there. Yeah, go Algorand and all that. And I will see you in the future.